How's it going, everybody? Just putting you guys together a little video here. I'm sitting on the deck. It's evening time, listening to the birds chirp. I love living here, friends, and the world comes alive in spring. All the birds come back, and it's just a glorious time. It's just about time for a haircut, eh? I don't need the winter mop anymore. This beard's getting out of hand, too. Anyhow, today's video, I took Ironhorse's 372 to the woods this weekend, and today's video I'm going to show you guys some clips. I did some falling, limbing, and bucking with it. The true test of a work saw. I ran this thing for several tanks. I'm going to tell you guys my thoughts on this build. Now, before you see this saw run, remember something. He did not grind the exhaust or intake port. He ground the lower transfers and did piston work. Check out how this saw runs. It's a very good work saw build. Friends, often you'll see me do it. We buck a couple of rounds in the yard here and that's it. And the saw's good. Well, for a work saw, that's not really a good test because you don't even get it warm enough in a couple of bucks to even know what it's going to do. What do I check in a work saw? And I gave Harvey's saw the same test that I do my own saws. Does it start? Idle. How does it tune? Do I have to tune it several times during the day? How much fuel does it use? What kind of power does it have? Does it buck quickly? Does it light up right now for limbing? I'm going to show you a bunch of clips today, and I'm going to jump in and out and kind of discuss the good and the bad and everything with this saw. And yes, the Canadian geese are back. We have a pair that come here every year. It's funny. Every year since we've lived here, the same pair comes back. Maybe it's a different pair. I don't know. But there's two geese that come here every year. Okay, friends, without further ado, I'm going to show you some falling and limbing today. I got a bunch of bucking video that I'm going to edit and throw together. I also grabbed the 572 and put some time on that. Without further ado, Harvey's 372. Check it out. Hey friends, how's it going? It's early cutting season here. There's still water on the ground. I got my rubber boots on. I couldn't wait. Let's fire this Ironhorse 372 up and put it in the wood. Let's do some falling with it today. I'm really excited. Let's fire this thing up, see how she starts. This thing's nice. I can't wait. I'm just gonna cut, friends. I don't have a ton of time today. It's starting to get cold out. There's some weather coming in. Before the wind picks up, I want to start falling some of these dead blue spruce here. These are all back leaners. I'm probably going to do a lot of back cuts first here today and stuff like that, but I want to get these on the ground and more or less bucked up. And I'm going to do it with this Ironhorse saw. This saw was built to be a work saw, and let's put it to work. So without further ado, I'll meet you guys in the bush. And this is what we're cutting today. These are all blue spruce. They've all been taken out. As you guys can see over there, they've been falling over. My plan is to just get as many of these down this year as I can. They've been hitting the buildings here and just trying to keep my neighbor's property as cleaned up as I can. Some of them are back leaning. Some of them are tied together. But friends, this makes great firewood. These are all 60, 70 feet high. They are fairly tall, but these make great firewood. I burn a lot of this stuff in the shop for most of the winter until it gets really cold. So anyhow, I'm just going to set you guys up and clear an access in here and just start dropping these. Okay, there's tree number 1. Notice I did a back cut first. This one was back leading slightly. I probably could have done a conventional, face cut, back cut, wedge it. The thing is, all these trees are leaning to the east and the prevailing wind is always west. And it was a little bit windy, not terrible, but better safe than sorry. I've had the wind suddenly pick up because it's generally pretty windy here on the prairies, and those things will set back in a hurry, and then you got a pinch saw. So I chose to do back cut first today. Also, my face cuts, a little rough today. I'm not gonna lie. It is what it is. I haven't cut a tree down in months. But notice that to you younger, newer cutters, notice I clean up my Dutchmans. I make sure that hinge is nice right across, and therefore I'm not going to have any problems. Now, this scenario, I have a wide open field to fall into. There's no worries about anything, but still, one thing I've learned is good habits. If you apply them everywhere, you should be safe and not have any issues. It's when you start getting sloppy, and I've had it happen to me where I don't clean out a Dutchman and a tree does something funky. But notice the saw idles. I just throw it on the ground and let it go. I never tune this saw all day. Good power, good chain speed. So let's go to the next tree. Okay, I thought I'd jump back in. That's tree 3 and 4. Notice I never shut that saw off. I just threw it on the ground when I was wedging, picked it back up. It idles like a dream. Let me tell you, when you guys are porting, if you guys port or you're just learning, when you start over intaking saws and that, they tend to be picky idling. I've done it. I have a few saws that are over intaked. This thing, sweet runner, just idles. Lickety split throttle response, which is important for the next part. Good power, good chain speed. It's just a well balanced work saw. And again, no grinding on the ports. Makes you think, doesn't it? For you newer cutters, I'd like to point out a couple things. I'm always learning. I'm not a professional cutter. I'd never claim to do so because that would be a discredit to all you rootin' tootin' timber cutters out there, whether it be tree service or fallers. But I'm going to point a few things out for you younger cutters. Notice I clean up my face cuts. If I don't match my cuts, I clean them up and get rid of my Dutchmans. Any possible chance I get. That way, I'm in full control of the tree and I know where it's going. And another thing, I noticed after looking at the video, you can really notice which way my handlebar's pointing. I'm aiming for the tailgate of my truck. To kind of give you a reference, and look at that handlebar. And when I'm matching up my cuts, I'm going in until that handlebar is basically pointing in the same spot, and that's when I know I'm cut up. So anyhow, just another example of back cut first. I do that often, and it's a really good technique that I use very often, because most of the time I'm cutting on an east tree line, and all the trees are leaning east into the tree line, and I have a west prevailing wind, which means it's very hard to get a wedge set in them, especially small trees like that. Anyhow, let's do some limbing with this saw. This is limbing. I do a lot of limbing. I cut a lot of softwood, and you limb for an hour sometimes. I like a saw that's really zippy. Right now, when you touch that trigger, I want it bouncing off the rev limiter. Let's see if this saw has it. Okay, I think I'm going to cut the video right there. One thing about this saw, when you touch the trigger, it's there right now. I like a zippy saw. Buckin calls it cracky, or, it's got crack. I like a saw that has crack. When you pull the trigger, I want it to be there right now. I want it to be at cutting speed and as quick as possible for limbing. You want to bury that throttle and cut that limb as quick as you can. This saw is very, very zippy. In fact, I couldn't have brought a better saw for what I was doing that day. So, super important to me to have a saw that idles, starts, has good pull in the wood. And by pull, I mean good chain speed and lots of power and a lot of crack. In the next video, I did a bunch of bucking with this saw. And let's see how it bucks. I shot so much footage the other day that I figured I'd break it up into a couple of videos. I also brought the 572 with me. I'm going to make another video comparing. It wasn't a comparison video, but running a hot rod Ironhorse 372, that's 71 cc's, compared to a very similar sized brand new 572 auto tune was an interesting comparison to me. Anyhow, friends, I hope this helps explain to you a work saw. There's all different kind of chainsaw builders on the internet. Um, I like work saws. Guys that make their living on a saw, they want to build like this. At least all the ones that I know. Um, it has to idle. I never shut the saw off all day. I just let it idle in between, you know, in between cutting or when I was hammering in wedges. I just let it idle and it just sat there. It never stumbled. It idled nicely. It just purred away. Um, good crack, and just a very stable build for falling. Um, Nothing's worse than a saw that you can't trust when you're falling. What if your saw stalls and you need to cut that hinge a little bit, et cetera, et cetera. That's the stuff that's really important. And also, friends, I ran that saw. Uh, by the end of the video, I'm already up to 40, 50 minutes of runtime, and the saw never got warm. That's super important to me. If it's not getting warm and it's staying stable, the more stable the temperature of a saw runs, the less chance you're going to have to tune it. And it'll be stable in its power delivery. So I could go on and on for hours about this subject, friends, but um, if you're interested in this saw and you like how it runs, check out the Ironhorse. And again, friends, one thing that Harvey and I do, and we are good buddies, we try and share info. And it's not the only way to build saws, friends. I'll never say that, but I try to share info, and so does Harvey, trying to help you guys. If I didn't think the saw was any good, I would openly say it on the internet, and I know Harv would be okay with that. But at the end of the day, friends, this saw, it's perfect. I enjoy running it. It's got lots of power. I will say, friends, because this is only a 71cc build, in big wood with a 32, you'd probably be looking for a big bore saw, but for 99% of cutting scenarios for most of us, this thing, it's a hot rod and it runs like one. So, um, very impressive. Anyhow, friends, I'll stop flapping and it's time for question of the day. Today's question of the day is a question that I get all the time. It's the number one question I get. I've answered it before, but I think I'll make it the question of the day today. And that question is, and again, I am honored that I get this question. Can I send my power saw to you, Tin Man, and have you porter up for me? And the answer to that is I actually don't take much in the way of work these days, friends. In fact, I never really have. There's only so many hours in a day, and I would rather spend my hours, my YouTube hours, and my shop time learning and growing and trying to make the best content that I'm capable of to help you guys. And you guys help me all the time, and this channel has always been about helping other people. So, um, if you're new here, welcome. And if you're just trying to figure out how these things work, check out my playlists. There's many playlists devoted to how they work and modifying them and stuff like that. But I'm honored that you guys want a Tin Man power saw. And the other reason is, friends, and I'm going to be perfectly honest, I haven't been doing this for 20 years. I haven't. Um, when I feel like I've put my time in, I'm still learning and growing. I'm getting better and better. I actually laugh now when I look back at some of my old builds and how limited my skills actually were back then. And I'm man enough to admit that. And I'm always learning. I'm learning new tricks all the time, and I'm figuring out what matters and what doesn't. Sometimes as porters, we do too much work and we don't end up with a better saw. And the saw you guys saw today, there's a lot of work done to that saw, but it's not the stuff that you typically see. And that's important. That saw runs and there's no porting on the exhauster intake. And I'm going to study that saw and learn and grow from it. So, anyhow, I really appreciate you guys out there asking me to port your saws. but I don't take much in the way of work. I never have, and it was never my intention to become a full service power saw shop. Um, who knows? Maybe someday in the future I'll start taking some builds, but uh, we've been doing this for about 3 years, and I haven't taken much in the way of work. My turnaround times now are super long, longer than I'd like them to be, but it's just the way it is. Most people that I port saws for, in fact, really all the people I port saws for are professionals, and that is set up for one reason and one reason only. I want to give my saws to people that live on a saw. I want them to make a living with my saw and be brutally honest with me. I could hand my saws out to locals and, other people that don't run power saws for a living, but I'll get good feedback then. To me, if you hand your saw to a professional, they're going to beat your saw up and they're going to be brutal. If your saw don't run, they're going to call you and be like, this thing's a piece of crap. So I am the way I am, and I'm going to keep learning and growing and try and share better work with you guys. Anyhow, thanks for all your support and keep sending the questions of the days. It's getting dark. I'm going to build you guys this video. Thanks for watching. Take her easy. Later.